We're recording. I usually fuck up the intro at least once, so bear with me. You would think after 50 episodes I'd be better at it, but I'm not.
You good, bro?
Yeah. Hello, Service Chris. Welcome back to the podcast. He has a bird. I am your host, Sean Shelton. Today I have a guy that I've been wanting to get on for a while. He's a person that I met about 2 years ago now. And he was just this little tiny character in American football in Europe. And now he's just like a sunflower. He's blossomed into this big ass flower. And I think the final blossoming was this past weekend in Salzburg, which we'll get into. But I have Kaleb Leach, the running back coach for the Vienna Vikings. Boo. The president of Europe's Elite and the director of social media for American Football International. Caleb, thanks for coming.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you, Sean.
Of course, man. That was quite the introduction. That was quite the mouthful in terms of titles. My man's busy, which we'll get to. But like I talked about, we met 2 years ago, and you were kind of a blimp on the radar. Been an import in Germany at a lower level, and nobody kind of knew who you were in the realms of American football in Europe, which is not the biggest community, right? And I still don't think a lot of people know you, in my opinion, even in Austria, which you've been in for 2 years now, and where we met.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to get into your story. What was your journey coming from, I believe, a pretty small town in Kentucky? Yeah, going to Canada and then over to Europe. What was that journey like for you?
Yeah, man. Small town boy, Frankfort, Kentucky. I think in our county, county is like a little bit bigger than the city. For those people who don't know, there's 25,000 in the county, and I was definitely under 20,000 in the city. More like 18 or 17,000 in the city. It's really small. Went to college at Florida Tech University that actually just canceled their football program.
I know.
Just a few months back.
That's sad.
When I was a part of the inaugural football team and did everything there, so we helped start that program up. We were a really good team within the 6 or 7 seasons. Playoff team. Within 6 or 7 seasons, we went to 2 playoffs as a startup program, and we were ranked in
Division II is not easy, by the way.
Yeah.
Like if you're making the playoffs, you're a good team.
Yeah, we were in the top 25 3 times out of 7 years. We're a very, very good football team there. After I finished my undergraduate degree, I went up to the University of Toronto in Canada to pursue a master's in theology and nonprofit management. So theology is religion, for anybody that doesn't know that. And did a year and a half of football there, and then actually got a chance to meet some of the coaches at the Toronto Argonauts and shake hands and get my opportunity with that. And that's all it was quick opportunity.
Just a cup of coffee.
And I appreciated that because it gave me a little hope, but it didn't work out. So I seeked playing elsewhere, and I took off to Germany. I played in GFL 2 in Germany with Montabaur Fighting Farmers. That was a great name.
Awesome.
But great people. The season just was not a good season. So I kind of was over football, I thought. I took off to Japan for a little bit, thought I was going to play out there. Then I ended up coming back to Salzburg, Austria to coach. That's where you and I had met. And I remember the first words you said to me was like, "What are you doing here?"
Well, to paint the picture, to be fair, we were having the Raiders coaches were invited to Salzburg to kind of run like a clinic. And so the Bulls were there and some other smaller division teams through Austria, and we were putting them through drills or whatever. And I kept looking up and seeing this guy sitting in the stands by himself. And then finally I just walked over. I was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And then we met.
Yeah, it was our first intro. It was really funny. We went out to eat that night.
Exactly.
At the buffet.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh yeah, they just brought me down to coach." And he said, "Oh, cool, man, let's hang out." That was a funny dinner.
Yeah.
Really funny dinner.
Well, some strong characters.
Yeah, but I'm thankful for it. And I've just been growing since. Now I'm the running back coach here in Vienna at the Vikings.
Well, that's not all you are. Where were you when we met? in terms of your life plan. You were kind of trying to get into studies at Salzburg, right? You were
Yeah.
into nonprofit housing, eco
Yep.
solution housing,
Yeah.
for low income families,
Yep.
if I remember correctly. And then you had an opportunity at Puma, and then you had some other things going on, and then it just kind of like, it seems like rubber hit the road for you, and
Yeah.
now you have all sorts of great stuff going on. So kind of
I
walk us through that.
appreciate
If
that.
the last 2 years of your life has been a kind of a sprint, I imagine.
I appreciate that because you know what? Yeah, there was some reality in that. I'd left football. I'd left the whole Germany thing, Japan thing, and I said, you know what? What else can I do besides playing? And I wanted to get into studying and working down there in Salzburg while I coached. That was my goal, and I wanted to find my way to stay in Europe because I taught myself German to a decent level.
Mm-hmm.
My first year being in Germany, and Salzburg was my place. I didn't have much money. I didn't know anybody, so I
Mm-hmm.
didn't like have any other reason to be there other than like trying to figure out what the heck I'm trying to do. I think a lot of young athletes go through that moment where you're like, what the heck am I doing with my life? And this was mine. So it was a low spot for sure. It was tough at times. Uh, I tried this whole building low income housing or affordable housing for families in Europe with these A-frame homes. I still work with that a little bit in the U.S. and in Europe. It's just been difficult,
Yeah.
especially with the family thing. It wasn't working as fast, so I had to figure out like how can I really like grow professionally, and what is it something I really want to do for the rest of my life. Um, while I stayed out here, kept coaching. I was like, all right, well, coaching isn't it. This isn't going to bring you a bunch of money, but I just like being around the game of football. But I love business development. And within that time in Salzburg, I met my good friend Evan Harrington. I told him about my skills with business development, and I started out as a marketing director with Europe's Elite. I guess that would have been December of 2018, January 2019, that time. Um, and I was just helping things grow. Uh, Fast forward to about sometime 2019, some like September, October, end up becoming a large owner of the company and the president of the company.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, I also joined the American Football International uh, team and
Mm-hmm.
I came on as the social media director because I loved what AFI was doing. And the two websites are separate, but have great missions with the game of football.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at today. So I came out to Austria, didn't have much, nothing, didn't have anything, didn't have any friends, didn't have any money, didn't have a specific purpose, but I knew I wanted to grow as a person
Mm-hmm.
and kind of see what I could do. And here I am.
Yeah. So in 2 years, you've basically become, if not the most influential, at least one of the most influential uh, people in media in American football in Europe.
I
So
can,
you don't have to say it. I'll say it. So,
okay.
so I think it's a crazy. First of all, congratulations. That's awesome. That shows you
Thanks, man.
what hustle and actually motivation will do. And also, it kind of shows you, and what I kind of tell people when I talk about American football in Europe, it's kind of, I don't want to say the Wild West, but it's a blank canvas.
Yeah.
It's a blank
Blank canvas.
canvas. You can, if you put a lot of work into it, and you have a great idea and you have a great vision and you can work well with people, there's a lot of different avenues that you can take. And a lot of people have tried and done various things, but you really have a platform here where you can build the type of life that you want to live. And that's what
Yeah.
I've been trying to do since since I got to Europe. And I think it's a great opportunity for people. And you're kind of the perfect example in 2 years what you've been able to achieve. I mean, you picked a questionable club to work for, but besides that, no, I think it's great. So
Before you go
now,
on,
go ahead.
I was gonna say before you go on, man, like anybody who missed that, me and Sean had met within my 2 years, and we're
Mhm.
still staying in contact. We'd stay in contact about once or twice a month
Yeah.
in between that time, and you just like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? And
Mhm.
like the small stuff of you just checking in because I was another American guy who you met, meant a lot to me in our friendship. And it was like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
somebody's making sure I'm all right. And then I would give you some updates. And you're like, okay, man, I see what you're doing. Like, keep going.
Yeah. It was crazy. It's like, hey man, what you got going on? Oh, you got that? Okay, that's new. Okay, good for you, man. It's
yeah.
been a fucking week, but what's up?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think the one of the reasons why I always checked in on you, because like I said, you were a guy sitting by yourself in the stands for a club that you didn't know. You know what I mean? And so it's like I've been that guy. I've been the
Mm-hmm.
guy who's moved to a city, took a leap of faith, and just like I'm gonna figure it out. Like when I flew to France, I knew nothing. I knew not a word of French. I knew not a single person who lived in Paris. And it was just kind of like, here we go. And
Yeah.
within a calendar year, within 365 days, I was the quarterback of the Soccer Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
So you work, yeah, you climb the ladder and whichever. So I had a ton of empathy for you because I know how lonely
Mm-hmm.
it can be. I know how yeah, homesick some people can get. You know
Mm-hmm.
how you kind of at one point I remember sitting in France like, what am I doing? Like, is this like what's going on? What is yeah. So you kind of question yourself a little bit. So that's part of the reason why I always checked in, because it was like I have a ton of empathy for that guy because I was there
Mm-hmm.
2 years prior.
Mm-hmm. And no, you hit it right in the head. That moment where you're just like, man, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know these people. I don't know this food. I don't know this language. Like, I can barely even turn on the water in this country because the knobs are different. You know what I'm saying? And man, but I think that's that relationship the game of football like creates. It's always bigger than just a game in between the white
Absolutely.
lines. It's always bigger than that, and this is just a testament to it. So it's really cool that we talk about
Well, absolutely. And I think before we move on, we kind of actually spoke about it shortly before we started recording. Is I think sometimes clubs really lack that empathy that I just talked about with you. Is like everything is a struggle when you're an import. You feel so dependent on the club. You can barely do anything by yourself, especially when you're in a scenario where the language is completely foreign to you. You don't know your way around. You don't know anything about where you are, especially if it's the first time you've been in Europe. That I think clubs forget about that sometimes. So I think if anybody is influential in a club that's listening to this, like build structure for your imports. They're coming from college football, which is very, very structured. Like make sure they have shit to do. Make sure they feel like they have a purpose outside of just playing, and make sure that they feel comfortable inside of your team. Because when you have a good import, it can be extremely beneficial for your club from top to bottom, because a lot of those guys are college educated and have um, skills outside of just playing football. Like
now.
Caleb is a perfect example. And secondly, when the import doesn't have that, his performance will go down. His play, it's just extremely beneficial. Just a small side note. I thought that was a good example. So now that you are here and you are where you are, geographically and in your career, what's next? What's the plans moving forward? What else do you have in store?
Um, oh man, so, with AFI, I've been blessed and able to learn a lot about the American football scene and work with amazing people like Roger Kelly and John McKinnon. And we're doing some cool things, just continue to spread the word of football around the world and finding new ways to really put a spotlight on different countries, not just in Europe, but I'm a big advocate for reaching out to countries in South America, uh, countries in Asia, such as Japan and China. Like Japanese league is legit. So people
Mm-hmm.
still keep doubting, like, oh, the XFL or the X League is not as good as the German football league. I promise you, the X League is better. It is legit. That is a structured league and a system of football from the youth all the way to the pro level. Um, and I want to just continue to learn and explore that and see what else is out there. And then with Europe's Elite, as some people had known it before as a recruiting service, it's not that anymore. It is a media platform to tell the story of these young players and teams and clubs and communities throughout Europe. So if you're playing American football and eventually basketball and women's soccer, this platform has been dedicated to talk about these athletes. whether you're going to college, you're going to play pro football, or you just went for 1,000 yards within 3 games in the Austrian Football League and you're 18. Hey man, you deserve to be hyped up. Now you got to remain humble, but you deserve to have a space to say this guy is good, and there's nothing wrong with that. By spreading news. Now that your fleet is not going to just take a stamp like, oh, we discovered this guy. No, their coaches did that. Like their parents raised them. But we can create a platform for everybody to come and look at this news about this one player and their club and their community. Cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. And no, of course. And moving forward, what I kind of mentioned in the intro is this blossoming and introduction, and because we always kind of joke that it's like, you know, you kind of painted out your development over the last 2 years that we've since we met each other is like very much behind the scenes. Like you were obviously Europeans elite or Europe's elite, excuse me, and American Football International are very well known platforms. But people don't know Caleb Leach. You know what I mean? Like people didn't, and we talked about that when you started doing the AFI, the rundown for podcasts, and it's like nobody knows you as a host. Like nobody knows of you, and so we always talked about kind of doing an introduction process, and you kind of did it for yourself this weekend. But not only that. So if people don't follow Caleb on social media, basically what happened is there's been some demonstrations in Austria as well, stemming from all the turmoil that's happening in the States and the Black Lives Matter movement. And so there was a demonstration in Vienna. I'm sure there was in Graz. There was in Innsbruck the other day, and there was one in Salzburg, where you had currently lived. And I assumed you were asked, or you were formerly lived, and you were asked to speak. And what happened is basically Caleb got on a van with a microphone in front of 7,000 people and said his piece. And I thought it was great. But in part of that, it was like a metaphorical blossoming of you kind of stepped into the spotlight in American football in Europe, and not for that cause, obviously for a different cause, but very much so kind of stepped out. So first, I want to break this down because there was a lot of things that I thought was very, very interesting. But just in general, before we get into the details, when somebody gives you the microphone, you're about to step on a platform or step on a stage in front of 7,000 people to deliver a super important message. Like I can't stress how important the message, especially coming from a person who can directly relate to everything that's going on in the States. What was kind of going through your head? What was your feelings as you were climbing on top of that van?
Okay, so I'll say this: the feelings I had climbing on top of the van compared to the feeling I had of when someone first asked me to speak were completely different.
Okay, compare the two for me, please.
Yeah. So originally, the organizers reached out to me the Saturday before and asked if I would mind speaking at a demonstration in Salzburg. Because they had saw something I put on social media about my doors open. If you want to have a conversation, let's talk about it. And I thought that's just a healthy way for us to grow as people. No matter where you are, what you look like, we got to talk and have a healthy conversation on both sides. One side listens, the other one speaks, and then back and forth, whatever. But after that, I said yes, and I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. And I'm thinking I'm going to talk to like 50, maybe 150 people. And then they were like, oh, no, it's like a full protest in Salzburg. I was like, oh, so like 500, because I'm thinking Salzburg's not that big. I was like, yeah, maybe 500. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then the day of, is like, hey, Caleb, instead of speaking 5 or 10 minutes, a few people dropped out. Would you mind speaking 20 minutes? All right.
Which anybody who's done public speaking, 20 minutes is long. That's a lot of words in 20 minutes.
A long time to really try to convey a great message in anything you're talking about.
Sure.
So that was that. So now I'm a little more nervous, and then here comes the day of. I ride down to Salzburg alone. I had some great friends meet me there who really kind of got my head right. And ironically, I met another guy who I did not even know uh, from Brooklyn, New York. I met him in the march. His name's Chris, uh, and Chris was walking with me, and he's just talking to me, and I didn't tell him I was speaking. He's just talking to me and talking to me and talking to me, and then the organizers come find me and it's like, "Hey, you ready to go?" Chris is like, "Oh man, you're speaking." I was like, "Yeah, I am. I'm kind of nervous. I ain't gonna lie." He just kept going with me, and then the organizers again said, "Hey, somebody else dropped out. We got to figure out who's going first." And Chris, who wasn't asked to speak, just jumped up. I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, man, I got it. No worries." And he went up there and spoke. I was like, "Holy, all right." And that really motivated me. Like, okay, this guy didn't even like prepare a speech, and now he's going to talk about something as a black man, how it is, how racism felt to him, how it's perceived by him in Europe, in the U.S., and every other place he's been to. So that was
I'm I'm
one.
I'm gonna pause you right there. I'm glad you said "and Europe."
Yeah,
It's not a geographical isolated thing.
yeah,
It's not. It could. It's definitely worse in places and
yeah,
than it is in other places, but
yeah.
it's not an isolated occurrence.
No,
It is a cultural issue
yeah.
throughout society,
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
the whole society, everywhere. It's an issue.
oh yeah. You hit it right on the head. It's not just in the United States, and just like when coronavirus hit, a lot of people was like, "Oh, that's just in China." Yo, racism is not just in the U.S. It
Mhm.
is all over the world. It does look different in different places. Yeah, there are different levels, but
Absolutely.
that doesn't mean it doesn't happen, and it should be accepted in different ways. But yeah, that was what really was surprising because now I'm in Salzburg and I'm about to get up on this truck. I'm looking out and I'm like, man, there's like 200, 300 black people in Salzburg. I ain't never seen you. I've never seen this in my life. And it was really exciting. But when I got on the stage itself, I think I'm similar to you in the sense that there was so much going on in the news in the US. There were so many different conversations. There were so many just things just thrown out there. And you felt so many different emotions that
Hmm.
you couldn't figure out how to say it the right way or the best way to express what you wanted to say. And I just yelled. I just screamed for like a full minute because that's all I could do. I didn't really know what else to do. And that yelling kind of compiled like just anger, hurt, frustration, uh, a little bit of joy in there, of course, too. But you can't put that in one word,
No,
right? So here we
no.
are.
But you definitely had a specific message that you wanted to get across, and that came through very clear. Um, you want to talk about what your message in general was for
Sure.
anybody who didn't see the speech? Just kind of summarize what your message was.
Yeah, for anybody who didn't see the speech yet, it's up on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. It's been shared a lot, but you can visit my Facebook and Instagram page or American Football International Facebook page, all over the place. Um, First and foremost, I didn't write all of that. Uh, I wrote some of it, and then the rest was emotions and conversations I'd had with friends beforehand,
Hmm.
maybe that day or days before, and some family. I had those conversations too, and then it all came out. But the message was, "I see you. I see you, my friend who's hurting, my friend who is confused, my friend who wants to know, my friend who wants to express themselves. I see every bit of you. If you're black, if you're white, if you're Hispanic, if you're European, if you're Asian, I see you and I love you, and you need to know that. And we need to love each other and say that right back to somebody.
Hmm.
At this time, we're hurting as people,
Hmm.
specifically the Black American people or Black people around the world are having some kind of frustration and pain. It's like, dude, you've treated me some kind of way just because I have black skin.
Hmm.
But we as a people all across the globe are hurting and don't know how to fix it. And the best way to start with that is to recognize, hey man, I see you. I
Hmm.
see what you're going through. I'm
Hmm.
trying my best to understand it.
Hmm.
I need to let you know I love you. This is how I'm saying I love you. Now I want to work with you. Now let's keep going. And I said a bunch of other things in between the speech, but I think that was the general message.
No, I think you're right. And I think you're right. And honestly, I love that message because basically, um, anybody who hasn't heard it, I kind of gave my point of view on everything via the Drew Brees scenario, because I think the whole Drew Brees scenario encapsulated what was wrong, what is wrong in our society in terms of communication. Basically, what you're asking people to do is empathize,
Yeah.
never understand. I can never ever ever begin to relate, but I can empathize. I can empathize very very strongly because it's something that is becoming more and more evident.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean I can relate to how you feel, but I definitely can understand hurting. I can understand frustration. I can understand anger. And these are all emotions you felt for obviously a different reason if you're white, not necessarily oppression or racism. But everybody can understand those emotions. And just like you said, I see you as such a nice message because you're you're acknowledging the feeling that they are feeling and empathizing with it. And that's a perfect first step. And that's why I really gravitated, and I spoke about that in more detail in regards to Drew Brees' case on
Mm-hmm.
my podcast. If you guys haven't heard that, you could check that out if you're interested. Uh, but I was wondering when I was listening to it or afterwards, I kind of sat there and thought about it and kind of reflected about the video. And one of the questions I had was how important are those demonstrations and how important is giving the African American community or the Black community as a whole the platform where it's like, hey, there's 7,000 people here and we're listening to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or the thousands and thousands of people that seen the video on social media. And it's like, hey, because I did the same thing. It's like, all right, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
shut the fuck up. I'm not going to do
Mm-hmm.
anything besides listen to this man speak for 10 minutes or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
And how important is that platform was given?
Man, so I want to say it for what I recognized first of how important it was. There was a group, and these guys might not know what they really did for me. There was a group of about 15 to 20 Black men. These are grown men. They may be 22 and up
Mm-hmm.
in the crowd, and they're about 30 yards out in front of the crowd from where I am. And if you see me in the speech pointing further out in front,
Yeah,
I'm pointing at them because their energy was so loving while I was speaking, and they were so excited when I was on stage because I wasn't speaking just for me; I was speaking for someone else. Because
exactly.
in their community, it's like, dude, I've been trying to tell you what's been going on, but you won't listen to me. But now this guy is on top of a truck, and you're all listening to him, and they appreciated that so
Mm-hmm.
much, and I could tell that by the way they responded to everything I said. And when I jumped off the truck, they were the first people to rush and hug me. I can tell that there was a young man, two young men that were right in front of the truck, maybe 12 years old at the most. And the fact that they were in front, I was like, heck, how'd you get to the front, man? And like, that shows some boldness that you're in the front. But there's two young Black boys in the front of this protest, and they're listening to me, seeing like, man, there's this American Black man on top of this truck speaking English. And it's kind of cool. I'm not sure what's happening, so I'm gonna keep listening. And I remember I shared a moment and said, hey man, you can do whatever you want in this world. You can be whoever you want. Never let anyone discourage you and say you can't just because you're darker or because you come from a different neighborhood. And I know for me, then saying that and witnessing that, no one had done that in my community when I was growing up. My parents did a really good job of always telling me I can, go and do some things and supporting me. I'll never take that away from my parents. They did a great job. But I don't remember anyone ever coming to my school, my team, a game, and saying that to me. And I think there's a lot of value in that. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen or that happens for every person who is white. I'm not saying that. But I think there's a lot of value for the person of color who's not used to seeing it, because society in certain parts of the world will influence you to believe that because you're darker, you have a less chance to do some great things. And I even think there's some value in it for the non-Black person there who might have been Asian or white. It's like, wow, I've never met a Black American person, and you're speaking like this. You're nothing like the stereotype that I know on TV, and you can speak another language. You speak multiple languages, and you're a business owner
Yeah,
and you live here.
you're
Like
educated.
yeah, come
You're
on.
world
And
traveled. You're world
you
traveled.
come on.
You're not just an entertainer, a music maker. No, it's so annoying to me, to be honest. Because now that I've
Hmm.
lived abroad for 5 years now, I feel detached from America, and
Hmm.
the things that I see on the media, or the things that I see on social media and everything, are truly saddening to me. But that's not the America I know. You know, that's not the Black community I know. That's not the guys I play football with. These aren't
Right.
my friends. You know, it's. I think you only get glimpses of it. It's so um, inaccurate at times. There's so much more that every community, especially the Black community, offers in the States, and
Oh yeah.
that should be highlighted. But to touch on what you said as well, I think hearing it in general is important, that you have a person standing up there with high energy going, you can be whatever you want to be. But when that person looks like you, it's different. It's got to be different. I
Yeah.
can only relate. I can't really relate, but it's got to be different, where it's like, hey, that guy looks like me and he did it, so I
Yeah.
can do it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's extremely powerful.
Yeah, and it that right there, I know motivated somebody. I got a number of messages, so that confirmed to me. It's like I already
I can
got through
only
to
imagine.
somebody, and then I got some other messages from my non-white kings and queens because I said
Oh
that a
yeah,
lot. I
yes
mean,
you
my
did.
non-black kings and queens who were at the protest, and it got through to them too because it said, okay, I am committed to listening and doing better, understanding and relating in different ways that I've not done before.
Mhm.
And I want to do this with you. And I thought that was beautiful. All right, we're on a team and
Mhm.
we're going to work together and find our way to do that. So
Mhm.
that's what it was for. It wasn't just for, like, for no, for a minute, it was for that black person. They deserve that
Sure,
moment.
absolutely.
But in entirety, the protest is for everyone.
Mhm. No, absolutely. But the thing that I'm interested in, and again, I thought about a lot about it, and I had conversations with Black friends of mine about it, and you know, it's like, it's not reaching the people that took time out of their day to show up to that demonstration to hear you talk. That's important. But it's the people that don't go to things like that, or aren't open minded to those things, that are even more important to reach. So how, and I don't expect an answer. This is or maybe you haven't even thought about this, because I didn't prep you on this or anything. And it's an extremely difficult answer, or question to answer. But how does the message go from the 7,000 people, or the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that have been to demonstrations, especially peaceful protests, that have just listened and gathered information and tried to understand, how does that message transmit from them to the people that weren't there, that probably need to hear the message even more?
And I think it does start with those who are in attendance. Oh, hold on. Trying to turn that off.
No problem.
Turn this down real quick just in case it happens again.
Hey,
But I think it
busy
does
man,
start
man,
with
busy man. What phone was that? Your third phone, your fourth
this
phone?
is one of them. I think it does start with those who are in attendance because now you can come back, you can go out and spread a message, you know. Um, and I had said something about holding other people accountable and
Mhm.
educating one another and simply just committing to doing better. Because if you and I go to the demonstration and we learn something, let's take race out of this idea. Let's take a demonstration about jars, right? We went to a demonstration about how jars can be useful in our house. And both you and I were like really excited from what we learned about it. And then we left and we went to football practice or to school and someone said jars are stupid. And if you just take that 1 second and say, hey, no, they're not. Look, let me tell you what I learned. And maybe you could think different. You just do that once, just one time. And that person who said something is stupid or ignorant or non-value will have to sit back and like, what? Because he's gonna look for assurance in the room, like, is someone gonna put this guy in check for saying my comment's stupid? Like, nah, man, like he gave you some valuable knowledge from a loving place. Anyone who meets love with hatred or just negativity, come on, man, like society is good enough to say, all right, I'm not dealing with this today. I'm gonna
Mhm.
keep it moving. So I do think it starts with those who attend and you slowly get to the other people who did not attend. And some other girl said it before me. It's like, oh, all you guys are here. Thank you. You're not in Salzburg cafes drinking tea and coffee. You're here. And I thought that was great because there were other people who were like watching the protests from their coffee table and they were shook. Like, what the heck is going on? I was like,
Yeah.
why don't you come check it out? It
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
No, I think that's probably the best answer I've heard about it, and that's I was so impressed with that notion of I think even I can't speak from personal experience that much. That's not something that I've experienced. Uh, even seeing racism, maybe some closed mindedness, but nothing out of hate. I've never experienced, but even the closed mindedness is a problem and leads to this stuff. So, but when you see that, it's even particularly as a white person, if it's another white person who says it,
Mm-hmm.
and you address that with, "Hey, we're going to do better today." I think that's such. First of all, it's a comfortable thing for me to say because it's like I'm confronting something I don't like, but in a positive way. And I
Yeah.
thought that was a really great way to do it and a great tool for people to use in the future because then it stems the conversation and it stems and these conversations exactly. But I have a feeling because what you said that even stemmed to this uh, invitation to the protest is, hey, my door is open. I'm willing to sit here and have a dialogue with you. These dialogues are so vital. I can't tell you how many opinions that I've had be changed via conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And but it seems like people because they're uncomfortable or because of whatever they're closed-minded or whatever the case may be, I feel like these conversations don't happen as much as they should. But addressing people and going, hey, that's not what we're going to do here, like that we're going to do better than that today, I think is such a beautiful response to that and a great way to go about it. uh, and the last question I had, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, I know you're a busy man.
You good,
uh,
bro. We could keep
uh,
we're talking about it.
yeah, the last question I had for you, and this is something, the reaction to the murder of George Floyd
Yep.
is not purely, obviously this situation is race, but these things happen, these
Yep.
societal things happen in more than just race. And then where there's outrage about something that happens, the biggest thing that I could think is like mass shootings. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Where you in the States, you have, and that's pretty much a state's issue at this point, where you have, yeah, when you have school shootings or mass shootings that happen in Las Vegas, which affect every race,
Yep.
ethnicity, religious standpoint, that's a communal issue. And it doesn't, those type of things, in some regards they do, like if you go target a specific audience, but like a school shooting, for example, is not bigoted. It's an equal opportunity issue, right?
Yep.
And then it's like, man, this thing happened that is so terrible. We're going to protest gun regulations and do this and do this and do this. And then a month later, it's gone. And in the
Yes.
race, how many times have we seen that in racial things in the last 5 years? So it's like people come together, and there's obviously a mass agreement that this was a
Yep.
terrible thing, and these things are terrible things, and these things should no longer happen.
Yep.
But then 3 weeks from now, it's not in the forefront of our mind anymore. Now it's just here, and then when it happens again, it's like, that's terrible again. And so how is this? How can we as a society decide that issues like these stay in the forefront and we stay active about it, and it's not just something that is a 2-week topic every time it happens and then it just continues to happen? Also a very
I,
difficult question.
no, but it's solid, right? It's a
Yeah.
solid question that can be implemented in a football team, in a school, in any practice of life.
Mhm.
The only way to get better at anything is you have to continuously practice. You have
Mhm.
to continuously work at it. You want a better, I heard Ray Lewis say it the best. I used to listen to this speech all the time. You want a better relationship with God, you got to pray more. You want a better relationship with your wife or your husband, you better spend more time and communicate with them more. You want to be a better football player, you have to work at your craft on the field and in the gym, spend more time with it. And it's the same thing when it comes to getting better with relations with your friends and other communities that look different. Spend more time together and communicating and just continuously having that notion of, I'm going to get better at this. If you're someone who is who just spews racist jokes out, and that's where you find your comedy. But you're not a racist person in your own life, but you're using race as the butt of your joke. You can get better by removing your comical sense of humor, like remove racism from that. Just take it out. Like, oh, I can find comedy in sports, or I can find comedy in cartoons, but not race. Or if I'm someone who always sees someone and then completely puts a judgment on them just by the color of their skin or where I think they're from, you have to capture that thought immediately and say, whoa, I didn't even know I was doing that. And you have to work at it. It's not going to happen overnight, but if you do that by yourself, anyone can do that alone. You don't need a team. You don't need a leader. You don't need a podcast. You don't need a whole like more innovation devotional to tell you to do that. That's just a commitment to saying, me, the individual, I'm going to work at this. I want to become a better cook. Looks like I can go read some cookbooks or ask some friends. It's the same thing, man.
If it's important to you, you do it. That's the thing. That's the thing I was questioning. If it's important to you, you're going to work at it. And I thought this is the last point I'll touch on. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, even if it's not important to you, but it's important to the people around you and you're tired of hearing about it.
But that has to be important too. You know, there's different type of motivations. I don't do half the shit in the apartment because it's important to me, but the person I love, it's important to them. Mm-hmm. So inherently it should be important to me. Now I still need to work at it. I'm not perfect by any means, but that's also a motivation. It's people I love, people I care about. It's important to them. And I think the perfect example of that is what you brought up, and something that I'm extremely sensitive to is where you brought up the N-word in your speech. And how many people love hip hop? How many people love Kevin Hart? How many people love Dave Chappelle? It's a word rooted from hate, you know. Right. So it's been, you know, there's different philosophies about it, but the Black community has inherited it and they've made it their own word, and it's great. But that's not a word I choose to use. And in college, I did. You know, when I was talking to some teammates, I'd be quoting Kevin Hart, and you know, I didn't want to shy away from it, and because I wasn't scared of the word, but I also didn't understand. I didn't understand where it came from. I didn't understand the power of the word, and so now, in any situation, I just choose not to use it. I don't care. It's not a word for me. It's not my word. It's a word that comes from hate, from people that looked like me 200, 300, still today. I'm not even gonna say it's 200, 300 years ago. Still today, people that look like me use it from hate. And that's not a word I choose to use. And I think kind of like what you're saying is working at things, or keeping things that could be, that are racist in the foreground of your thought.
Yeah.
Keep it here. Keep it present to you. Like, ooh, man, even if I'm quoting a song, it's here, you know what I mean? Or if I have a thought, like where I see somebody who doesn't look like me and I get tense, why? It's got to stay. All these things have to stay in the foreground of your thought. And like you said, practice for anything to be changed, because it can't just be the fad of the week. No, that's what I fear.
No, man, I think you're right on it. And one, I want to commend you for being open with your own growth with that, and saying how you didn't understand the word. And maybe you didn't. And now you learned, and you've made your own practice with that. You know what I'm saying? So that's the perfect example.
And the crazy thing is, you know, I didn't offend anybody by using the word, at least that was verbalized to me. I didn't know I was offending people. And I honestly don't think I did, because they knew me. They knew I wasn't using it in a derogatory way. And I purely just quoted things, right? If it came on a song, I would still use it. But it got to the point where I don't like doing it. It doesn't feel good for me to say this word. And to be honest, it's not the only one. You know, there was the R word, if you will, retarded. It's not a word I choose to use anymore. And that was brought out to me by a friend who has a mentally disabled brother. And it's just like, but I used to say this shit all the time. Like, man, that's retarded. No. There's people that are retarded, and it's a huge issue. And it's the words that stem from hate. And again, when it's in your foreground, or somebody brings it to your foreground, let it stay there. So let George Floyd and what happened to him be the thing that brings these things into the foreground of your thought, and let them stay there. and let them
Uh,
stay there. That's what I urge, because there's we've been seeing it so much, the lack of tolerance, the lack of um, awareness, and the lack of thought
oh yeah.
to make these changes. And that's why, like I said, the feeling that I felt the most is just sorrow, it's just sadness,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
here it is again.
Right, and here it is again. Now, I will say we've never seen the whole world form a demonstration or a riot or excuse me, demonstration or protest
Yeah.
based off one of these actions. We have never seen that. So does that identify or signal up some kind of change is coming? I pray it does, and I believe it does. I really do.
Hope so.
Um, but for the individual who has seen it a number of times, I can understand the feeling of hopelessness, sorrow, and frustration of like, again.
For me, I mean, for me, not even being of that community, I'm
Yeah.
watching, and the bad thing, I don't remember their names, but I remember
Mhm.
seeing it. I remember the guy getting choked out for selling Lucy cigarettes in New York, getting choked
Yep.
to death. And like, for me, it was like, what the fuck are we doing? What are
Come on.
we doing? We got to be better than that.
Gotta be
And
better.
that's the thing. I just hope it stays in people's foregrounds, and I hope it stays in people's thoughts, because um, and I'm not perfect, and I don't expect people to be perfect, but I expect you to try to be perfect and try to be better. And that's why I thought your message was beautiful.
I appreciate that, man. And yeah, I really, really appreciate that. I do think it's something we can all do because I've had some other conversations where everyone was like, well, we need a leader. We need to make a change right now. Uh, how long is that going to take? Because we are an instant gratification community or people, society, excuse me. Man, you can improve something every single day. You have an opportunity to wake up when God has given you a breath and shine light on your face. You have an opportunity to say, you know what? I'm gonna go shower, so now I don't stink today, or I'm gonna drink some water, so I have some hydration in my body. You have an opportunity to get better at something
Mhm.
every single day. And even for those who say, "Oh, well, I don't have those luxuries of clean water or a hot shower," that person who has nothing, because I've been in that situation where I felt like I had nothing, you still had something that you said,
Mhm.
"I'm going to get better at today, so I can find my way to have more than the things that I have now." So yeah, we just got to keep doing better and
No,
finding new ways to.
I think you're right. I think a lot of people say, man, we need a leader. And no, we don't. You be the leader. You lead yourself.
There you
I
go.
mean, how many people thought the world was going to change when Obama got elected? It takes more than one guy. It
Yeah.
takes you as an individual look in the mirror and go, I'm going to be better today. I'm going to practice these things that are important to me. And I had almost the exact same conversation with Jermaine Ginn, my guy. And and it was like, man, we just have to come together and decide what society we want as individuals, and decide what human rights everybody is entitled to, and do it. And it's
Yep.
so much bigger than one person. It's everybody. And
You said it, man. You hit it right on the head, and I'm glad. I can see your emotion there. I was like, man, like you seem like you've been holding it in for a minute too. So I'm glad we got to talk. And
it's annoying. It's
that's what
sad.
matters. You get it
It's
in.
sad. I think the saddest thing for me
Yeah.
is to I was, and I still am, a proud American, and I'm proud of America's potential more than anything. I'm not proud of the current state that it's in, but I'm proud of our diversity. I'm proud of what the country should stand for. I'm proud of the potential that it has, and there's a lot of good people that are working towards it in America. You just don't see them often, and unfortunately. But it's saddening to me that not everybody's experience is positive. It's saddening to me, and goes back to Drew Brees thing, that people can look at the American flag and go, that thing that symbolizes isn't working for me. You know what I mean? That it doesn't encompass the entire population, and that people feel that way, for me, is deeply saddening, because nobody should feel that way about the country that they live in and that they're a citizen of.
No,
And for
they
me,
should not.
I can't imagine the feeling of hearing the national anthem and what's inside of those people. It's deep. It's saddening to me.
Yeah, man. There's so much, so damn much. But I find beauty in the moment of realization. I find beauty in the moment of communicating and growth. It's like, okay, we're taking another step to be beyond that, to be better than what we were before.
Mhm.
And if I can just see that bit of effort every day, and there are days where you don't see the effort to be better. If I can see that bit of effort of us as a society in every country trying to improve our flaws, not the opinionated flaws, just the facts of human rights flaws, like
Yeah.
to be free and you shouldn't discriminate, those things. Boom. And yeah, I think there's a lot of hope for us.
Yeah. If anybody listening to this want to reach out to Caleb, like he said, his doors are open. If you want to reach out to me for whatever reason, hear my opinion on it, you can write me a message. Go listen to Caleb's speech if you haven't. You can find it on all of his social medias, Caleb Leach with a K. And follow everything AFI does. They do weekly interviews with great people in American football all over the place. And Europe's Elite. Go follow everything that he does. And because he's become a great ambassador for American football in Europe. And I appreciate you, my man.
All love, man. And this, the most sincerity of the hope you gave me of our friendship when we just became friends week by week. You just checked in on me and you knew that low point I was at, and you could see it very clearly, as you just said. It's like, yep, I've seen that before.
Yep.
So
been there.
I appreciate it so much. Nothing but love for you, man. I thank you for allowing me to come on the show.
Of course, man. Of course, man. Take care.
Take care, bro.
Bring that energy. We here. We bring that energy. I see you, king. I see you, queen. 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 Yeah. Yeah, we here. We here. We here, Ara. We here, Ducks family. We here, Bulls family. All right. Ja, ich spreche Deutsch, aber für dich, wirklich verstehst du. Versteht mir. I'm going to speak English today, okay? All right. My name's Caleb Leach. I am 26 years old. I'm from Frankfort, Kentucky. Yep, set it off. Set it off. Set it off. I need all of that. I need all of that. I need all of that. I appreciate the energy. I appreciate the love. Salzburg, Austria, you did an amazing job. Organizers, you did an amazing job. My brothers, you did an amazing job. Be proud of yourself. Remember this for the rest of your life, that you were a part of this for the rest of your life. You didn't stay silent. You didn't stay home. You didn't drink tea. You didn't drink coffee. We're here. We're here, all right? So I'm going to tell you what happened. I actually lived here in Salzburg for a year. For a full year last year in 2019, I lived here along the river down the Salsa that way. I stayed here for a full year in an apartment by myself. Many of you never met me. I know I never seen so many of y'all. I never saw you. But I came here just like many of you came here. I came here with a bunch of nothing. A bunch of nothing. Think of that. I had nothing because I left a country that told me I couldn't be nothing. Okay? I grew up in a country where they said, you too dark. You black, you can't do that. And I'm sure you heard it too, right? But you know what? Someone said, I'm tired of hearing that. I'm tired of you oppressing me. I'm tired of seeing someone that looks like me and she and he get killed for being weak. I'm tired, right? But wait. We can't get tired. You're not allowed to be tired. Because we're going to make some change today. You can never get tired. I don't want you to ever be tired. I need you to feel that. You feel? I need you to feel. Yeah. I need you to feel every bit of that energy. I need you to keep that emotion. I need you to keep crying, shed your tears. Keep pumping everybody up. Hold other people accountable. You want to make a change? Turn to your brother and sister like, hey, we're going to do better. 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 Now, if you can chant that here, you can take it home, say it in school, say it at work. You can tell it everybody in church, wherever you go. We're going to be better. So when you hear somebody, go ahead. When you hear somebody with a little bit of a racism come at you, hey, man, I don't need to hear that. We're going to do better today. That's all I need to hear. We're going to do better today. We're going to do better today. I don't need that today. I don't need that today. For those of you who may not understand what racism feels like, when you walk in a room because you have Caucasian skin and it's just a little bit of tan because the sun touched you, you can just fly under the radar. When I walk in a room, ooh, that thing gets silent. That thing get real silent. Oh, there's a black man in the room. Uh-oh, he can speak. He's sharp. He can speak 2 languages, 3 languages. Expect Deutsch, Spanish, and English, and a bisschen Französisch. Come on. So don't you ever look at me and think I'm less than. Don't you ever look at me and think I'm not educated. Don't you ever look at me and think I don't have something, because you can do it. 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 You can do it too. So as I said, I came to this country where you're from, Salzburg, Austria. I didn't have anything. Those of you who met me with the Salzburg Bulls, you know I didn't have anything. I didn't have no money. I didn't have no job. I didn't really have a place to stay. Love that. Love that. Love that. Love that. But let me tell you where I am today. I'm 26 years old and I own an international sports media company called Europe's Elite. I traveled. I travel the globe and I host sporting events in different countries. I show up and they're like, oh, you're Caleb, the guy I emailed? I'm like, yes, sir, I am. Nice to meet you. I own this company. And we're going to host an event in your country today, and about 150 of them are going to come and pay me to host this damn event. So for those of you that believe in racism and says, oh, he can't do it, he's too black. How you doing? How you doing? For those of you who are people of color and someone says, I can't see you, I don't see color. I'm going to tell you right now, I see you. I see you. I see you. I see you. And I love you. I love you. You is kind. You're smart. You're important. You are important to this world. And somebody loves you, and you need to feel that every day. If no one else says I love you, hey, I love you. I love you. And I need you to walk out of here and tell every brother you see, every sister you see, hey, queen. Hey, king. I love you. You matter to me, because my black life matters. My black life matters, baby. And you can't take that from me, because I'm going to make a difference in this world. Because I see you, young brother. I see you, young king. You can do whatever you want in this world. Don't you let nobody tell you can't do something. If you want to be something great, you go do that damn thing, all right? You tell them, how you doing? All right, you go do that. Don't let nobody question you. But this is what I'm going to give you before I get off this stage. For those of you who say, well, we don't have a leader. We need an answer. We need an answer. What can I do right now to make a change in my community, where I'm from, and the people I talk to? Hold people accountable. Tell them we can do better. Tell them we're not going to speak that way. I'm not going to use the N-word. For every one of you who love hip-hop music, please raise your hand. Now, this is what I'm going to say. You might not like it, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to challenge you to never use that N-word again. Don't you use it. Even when you love the song and you rocking, like they like the way that I dance, they like the way that I rock, I need you to love that song like you love me and never use that word ever again, please. Because when you use something like that, you empower racism. You empower people that want to put oppression in its place. So I need you to be better. We're going to do better. And you're going to do something very simple by not using that word. You're going to do something very simple. When you hear someone say a racist joke, don't laugh. Tell them we're going to do better. We're not doing that today. Not where I'm from. Not in my city. Not how I act. Okay? I got so much more I can stand here and say. I got so many stories I can tell you about being a 26-year-old black man. About being a 26-year-old black man from America and the things I've experienced. But I tell you the truth, I can't do that in 5 minutes. I can't do that. So for those of you who's like, man, I want to keep talking, I'm opening my doors. My name is Caleb Leach. You can Google me, Facebook me, Instagram. I don't really care. You can come talk to me and my friends and we will communicate as one because we are a people as one. We are together as one. We have to communicate as one. Whether you are black, white, Hispanic, Asian, I don't care. I love you. I see you. We are going to make this through this. We are going to do better. If there's anything that this coronavirus has taught us, we're all on the same page. Everybody got a mask on. Ain't nobody got a job. Everybody hurting for money. I barely got some food. But you know what? We're on the same level. We're going to treat each other like that for the rest of our lives. We're on the same level, and we're going to love each other, and we're going to keep telling each other, hey, I see you. I see you. I see you. I see you. I love you. I love you. Hey, king. Hey, queen. 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 I love it. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, blue, green, or purple. I don't care. You're in this together with us, and we love everybody here. I thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for listening to me for this 5 to 10 minutes. My name's Caleb Leach. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. I see you, baby. I see you. I see you, baby.